Do you know why Dora is the world's most beloved explorer?
I do.
With Dora, your child sees a friend.
Hola, amigos.
And you see them discover language.
Say arriba. Arriba.
Kindness.
I'll help you, Boots.
And perseverance.
I don't think I can do it, Dora. Together, we got this.
Now that's a map for a bright future.
Yeah!
Watch Dora, the brand new show, weekdays at 11 on Nickelodeon, and available now on Paramount+.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
My good people, welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show, and I'm with your host, CJ Moneyway. Let's get it.
What's up, my good people? Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. Today we have on the show author and North Carolina Asheville graduate. We got my man Ryan Gray on the show today. Hey, how you doing today, Ryan?
Good, sir. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad you could join us today, man. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and, your background.
So, I have a history of schizophrenia, depression, ADHD, anxiety. So, I've really had a lot of treatment that I've had to go through to get to where I'm at. Eventually wrote a book about being on the street as an addict. Yeah, I've been doing lots of podcasts, trying to get the word out there, trying to carry the message. Went back to school, got my bachelor's in literature, creative writing. So I've come a long way.
Yeah, man, a lot of us have, man. A lot of us have. So let's get into your story, man. So, Ryan, what inspired you to begin writing in 2015?
2015, I had already done some writing. I started with journaling a long, long time ago, back in like 2003, 2004. But 2015, that was a class that I took. I was a creative writing major, so I took a lot of workshop classes, which essentially everybody, it's a small class, 5-10 people. Everybody writes a short story, and then we take turns critiquing each other's story. My story was essentially just kind of like a short story about when I was on the street and struggling with addiction in the street. And so it was for a class originally, but one of my classmates kind of said, you should really slow down, do a frame by frame, tell the whole story that's there, not just the short story that I wrote, but like the whole thing from beginning to end. And I always remember her expression. She kept saying frame by frame. So that's essentially what I did is I wrote out everything that happened in that time period, frame by frame, one event at a time, one chapter at a time. And I was sort of motivated, encouraged by the other students in the class.
Yeah, I know that had to be, because a lot of times in life, regardless of what you're doing, man, sometimes the hardest people to try to please with the things that you're doing are your peers.
Yeah.
And so to have your peers to encourage you and say, hey, man, this is inspiring. Everybody need to hear this. It's something that I know had to be gratifying, and it does motivate you. And I think a lot of times people that's not in the type of space that you may be in as far as writing and being creative and things of that nature, I don't think they really understand the encouragement that, that them type of words really does for a person and their confidence.
That's a good point. I don't know if the person that said that frame by frame, I don't know if she could, discern that I did get a lot from that comment.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about feedback, though. As an author, as a writer, even as an artist, you kind of have to grow that thick shell. You got to be thick-skinned about things because, you're not going to always get positive. You get a whole, you think it's good. Like I wrote a paper for one of my classes and I thought it was good. And the teacher graded it and gave me like a C or a C- or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It was covered with, we had like 2 paragraphs of corrections at the end in red ink. And you got to like just being an artist. Even I haven't really done enough with music to know for sure, but I think any kind of creative endeavor that you commit yourself to, you got to kind of be prepared for criticism.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. And like you say, I was telling somebody not too long ago that you got to take all the criticism as a collective criticism too, as well as the good, because a lot of times the collective criticism helps you go ahead and hone your skills better because it's something that you're missing. It's something that you can improve on. So like you say, we do have to have thick skin when you're doing things of this nature. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about your book, man, Twilight in York, which you just published in 2023.
So it's essentially a memoir. It's a creative nonfiction. I've sort of had let me just put it this way, the genre, when you release a book, the listed genre is, I would say, subjective. The consensus is usually that it has to be either fiction or nonfiction. You can't have both. It has to be one or the other. I always kind of disagree with that. I've written it sort of like you would think of as a novel, a book, but it is also meant to carry the message. It's kind of a two-pronged thing where I'm trying to carry the message of recovery and help people who might be having trouble reaching out to get help with their addiction. And also the other part of it is just writing a book that I think a person would want to read, a book in sort of a classic sense. So, and I was essentially, I had just gotten out of rehab for the last time. This was in 2007, and moved to a halfway house in York, Pennsylvania. And I was in York for maybe 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in and out of halfway houses. I was in like 5 different halfway houses because I kept getting kicked out because I kept using, not really taking any of it seriously. I was doing what I thought other people wanted me to do. My parents were always pressuring me to get help and kind of like, okay, I'll get help. I'll do this and that. I'll go to the halfway house. I'll get a job. I'll go to meetings. I'll do the stuff that I'm expected to do, but not really having any meaning behind it, not really taking it seriously. And so I was essentially on and off the street, which is pretty common for people on the street. Is it's like you're pretty much on and off. If things get bad enough, you can be full-blown homelessness, but I was sort of in and out of homelessness. And I just had a lot of really memorable events of drug-related, addiction-related events that my book is just trying to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, I get you too as far as the nonfiction and the fiction, because sometimes you want to tell a real life story, but when you can put it into character mode, you know what I'm saying, in character form or third person talking about second person or first person, you know, it's pretty cool because you can just let loose and let go and just, you know what I'm saying, like create things that's actually there, but leave something to the imagination to other people's mind too, instead of saying, oh yeah, you know, Ryan Gray and I was this and I was that, you know, but if I could say Charlie Dunn, you know, something that, to that nature, I could put a little spice to it as far as the fiction and nonfiction. So I understand you too on that aspect, because I got a book called The Rolling Stone, you know, a Rolling Stone, I can't think of the name of it right now, but Mud G. So it's a real life book, but I'm using a fictional character though, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say I know exactly what you mean as far as that type of genre. But, you know, we do what we can, man. We do what we got to do to make it interesting and things of that nature. So, Ryan, what were some of the challenges you endured while writing this book?
Probably keeping up a strong writing habit. I was writing at one point like 5.5 hours a day for a long time. Just keeping up that habit, keeping it as a commitment. I had a publisher for a while who was just sort of negative and hard to work with. And, you know, I had to, for the sake of my book, work with this person for a few years, you know, a couple times a week for a few years. And so that was tough. Hopefully, if you're listening out there, you know, and you find a publisher, hope that it's a nice person that you want to work with. Yeah, I think also I love writing. I love the writing process, but I can't stand the publishing business. Like, it's just such a mess. It's so hard to find a publisher these days. You got the average amount is like for every 1,000 books that are submitted, one book gets published. So it's really uphill. It's really hard finding a publisher. And I sort of I just allowed, I don't know if I would call it a mistake, but I kind of allowed the writing aspect to take a back seat, put it on the back burner while I worked on publishing the book. And I only recently started writing again, maybe like a month or two ago. Yeah, keeping up a habit of steady writing. That does got to be pretty important.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw this publishing company out there. This lady I just interviewed a couple of weeks ago, 1106 Design. I'll send you the email. I'll send you her information, man. Check it out. Publishing company seemed like a pretty nice lady, man, because she was saying the same things that you said, that a lot of times, because she's been working in the industry for like 50-something years, so a lot of times they mess over you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why she built her company to help writers to publish their books where you'll be getting the benefits instead of the publishing companies getting all the benefits. But I'll shoot that to you, man, later on. Hey, so you was touching on your personal problems as far as, the streets and everything. So go into a little details, man, about how it is for people that don't know about being homeless and living on the street, man. Tell us about some of your personal challenges that you faced in this time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because with my book and with publishing my book, I've run into different forms of stigma, and those forms that I've found are homelessness, mental illness, and also addiction. I think with homelessness, you see that sort of picturesque guy in the median with his sign asking for money, and it's like, I should give that guy some money so he can get a shower and a hotel room and some new clothes and a job. He just put it in his arm. So what's the point? As a homeless person, you kind of get it's like people, you just get tired of it. Like, people think that you're stupid or that you could easily come out of it. But it's like the piecing together of things that I noticed is when you're on the street and you want to go somewhere, first you got to have the money to get to where you're going. You got to know where you're going. You got to know what you're going to do when you get there, how to do it. It's something that we take for granted when we get in our car and just drive somewhere. We just drive there and do whatever we need to do. But when you're homeless and on the street, it makes everything a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicating to know where the nearest shelter is and how to get there. And for example, there was a shelter that I stayed at a few times in York, and they had a chapel service every day at 7:00 p.m. They had a chapel service, and you had to attend the chapel service if you wanted to sleep there that night. And I just remember not being able to piece it together that was what I needed to. I needed to be there at this time for that reason. Just like the piecing together, even if it's for most people simple, when you're really being homeless is really an immediate reality. It's like a one minute at a time. It's like, okay, I need cigarettes, but I don't have any money. So I guess I'll bum people for cigarettes. And then after that, and the next thing, whatever the next thing is, it's something that's taken for granted that doing all these things. Like if you need to shave, but you don't have your own razor, your own soap. So you have to find out where you can get razor and soap. And it's just, while you're on the street, it's harder than it looks to get out of that homelessness situation.
So let me ask you, Ryan, man, I didn't have this on the list. So when you're going through challenges like that, what's your motivational factor to just not give up?
Well, I had friends at the time. Most of them have actually passed away from overdose, but I had friends at the time that, were there for me, not giving up.
I know sometimes when we go through certain things and, just even simple challenges in life, sometimes, you just want to just throw your hand in and, like, I'm done with this, because I'm sitting here listening to your story, man. And, like, for somebody that haven't been through what you've been through, it's hard to even imagine. Like you say, like we on the outside looking in on certain people, and we figure like, you can get up and go get a job, you know what I'm saying? Go work somewhere. You ain't got to be living on the street, but you kind of like opened up the door to another situation, to some of the things that I believe myself and I believe that others may find interesting, that it's just not that simple. It's not as simple as you may think when a person get into that, you know what I'm saying, into that type of mind state. So going on top of that, so what do you find to be the hardest thing dealing with mental health?
Well, the first thing was taking my meds. A very common issue that people don't want to take their meds. My personal theory on that is that people who are prescribed medication, they don't want to take the medication because it's almost like they're admitting that they have a problem. Nobody wants to, you don't want to like have to stop your life and deal with this whole illness, this whole sickness that you have, that there's something wrong with you. And, most people, they don't want to acknowledge that they need that medication. That's the main reason they don't want to take it. So once.
Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Let's go!
Do you know why Dora is the world's most beloved explorer?
I do.
With Dora, your child sees a friend.
Hola, amigos.
And you see them discover language.
Say arriba. Arriba!
Kindness.
I'll help you, Boots.
And perseverance.
I don't think I can do it, Dora. Together, we got this.
Now that's a map for a bright future.
Yeah!
Watch Dora, the brand new show, weekdays at 11 on Nickelodeon, and available now on Paramount+.
Whether you're making the same breakfast that you have every day or baking a cake for an extra special day, eggs are a staple in our diets. Eggland's Best Eggs are nutritionally superior to ordinary eggs, containing more vitamins and 25% less saturated fat. Not only are they better for you, but Eggland's Best Eggs taste better too. There's a reason that they're America's #1 eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com for additional information and delicious recipes.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
I agreed to take it, and I started taking it, and I continued to take it. That was pretty significant. So that was a challenge. I think mental illness is an everyday struggle, even for me. I've had in the past 2 years, past year and a half, I've had 2 hospitalizations for anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I was having 10 panic attacks a day at one point. And I had to deal with that. So it just goes to show you, even though I don't currently have a job, but, even if I wrote a book or graduated or did whatever, even myself, if things get too bad with the anxiety, I've had to be hospitalized for that. So that and just the day-to-day thing, there's not really a cure for schizophrenia. So the medication helps, mitigates a lot. But at the same time, I'm dealing with it every day.
Yeah, man, I'll keep you lifted up, man, because to be going through some of the things, the challenges that you say that you've been through and the things that you still face, like some of the lingering effects, and to continue striving to do what you're doing, man, I give you big ups for that, brother. So Ryan, when did you realize that you needed help? And I would say, as you said, why didn't you seek it right away?
I didn't seek it right away because I didn't have to seek it right away. I was doing relatively okay. I was in York. I had the shelter, but I also had two friends that each had their own place.
Mm-hmm.
They were letting me sleep on their couch, and I still wasn't really interested in any kind of solution. I was content to just continue using. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom that my behavior changed and I started to act differently. This was, one of the two people that I mentioned, they were both getting evicted. So they were fellow addicts that were not able to pay rent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that once they were evicted, I would be on the street for good. I would be full blown homelessness. And it was kind of like, it was kind of a no brainer. It wasn't really a choice. The choice was to be full blown homeless or to go to a rehab. I was choosing between those two things, and it was just sort of obvious at that point that I think I had acknowledged that I needed some help.
Mm-hmm. So in between that and, since you've recovered and been out and everything, who has been your biggest supporters?
My biggest supporters has definitely been my family. My mom and dad have been there the whole time. Back when I was using, like when I was in York, it was kind of a distance. I was an hour and a half drive away. My mom would still visit every couple of weeks, but I was very inconsolable. I was hard to reach. I was kind of destitute, and it was kind of hard for them to really reach me. But the whole time, my parents, through thick and thin, have been there for me. At one point, I wasn't allowed in the house, which was very hard, both for me and for them, because I think they took the advice of a counselor. It was some counselor at a rehab gave them the advice that, they were enabling me by allowing me to be in the house, and that they had to cut me off and not be allowed at home. So it was very hard.
Yeah, that sounds like that can be pretty discouraging. So, you mentioned this not too long ago, so I'd like for you to, can you give us some insight and share with us some insight about your personal feelings about hitting rock bottom?
Mm. Well, as perspective, right before I hit bottom, I had a moment of clarity. The moment of clarity was essentially, I was with my friends and they were packing a bowl and they were going to smoke it. And I sort of had like a voice in my mind that said, pass on the bowl this time, just this one time, and see what you see, to see how you feel. So I did it, and I passed. I didn't smoke it. And my moment of clarity was, like, as I was watching my friends do this, I knew from personal experience, I realized that when you're dealing with addicts don't think about anything but getting high. That's, even if they have jobs or they're students, when they're sitting in class or when they're working, that's the only thing that they're thinking about. And it's just the word slave and being enslaved to addiction. My moment of clarity was just, I didn't want to be a slave to anything that includes substances. So I was trying to go back to your original question. You were asking something about rock bottom.
Yeah, like you were saying something earlier that, you had hit rock bottom. So I just wanted to know from your perspective, your insights, like what is rock bottom? What is rock bottom for you? What was your rock bottom moment? And I think you kind of like clarified that, just sitting back watching.
Yeah, the rock bottom thing. Most addicts don't like listening to other people, especially non-addicts, and tell them what to do. And when you hit bottom, it's kind of like it's just a desperation. In my case, I would have said there wasn't really much of a choice. Like I was choosing between homelessness and going to rehab. So my case was pretty simple. A person who's hit bottom can be reached by a fellow AA or NA member or just somebody who's gotten clean. Most people have to hit bottom first to make any kind of changes.
So, Ryan, Why do you feel that your story need to be told?
I think it's a window, first of all, into a lifestyle. There's a lifestyle with people that are on the street. We have our own dressing style. We have our own vocabulary. We have our own lifestyle, and just not a lot of people are aware of that. I think my book is sort of a window into that lifestyle. Yeah, I think because my story shows that how much is possible to bounce back from addiction just by reading about a memoir about somebody who conquered addiction, and this is what happened to them and this is what they did, and able to do it with the mental health problems in the way. I think that like with podcasts like this, you get a lot of listeners with addiction problems or with problems just in general, that they don't believe in themselves enough to think that they can get help. But after everything I've been through, I think if I can get help, that you can too. Anybody else can.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You got a real inspiring story. So as we wrap this up, Ryan, man, what can, is there any other projects that you got on the horizons that we can look forward to?
Yeah, the second volume of the book probably won't be till next year. My publisher is extremely busy, so it might not be for a while, but I was going to read, if it's okay, I was going to read an excerpt from the book.
Go ahead, man.
Okay. This is chapter 11. We were supposed to meet at the same tattoo parlor, the one right next to the meeting, our usual meeting spot, and she made me promise I would come. It was the first and only time we planned to do something beyond spend time in her garage or look at tattoo art, like an unofficial date. I took the bus to where we were meeting an hour late. I saw her through the window, waiting for me, but I did not get off. And I saw the look on her face as that bus drove past. When it hit her, I was not coming. I saw such pain and terror on her face, a lostness. She knew when she saw the doors closed, when I did not get off, that I was not coming. And she knew what it meant. Of course she did. I really hope to God she did know. Because I had stood her up, I was afraid I had broken her heart. I saw Lenore's face as I hid mine. It was a face of utter dejection. It was heartbreak indescribable I knew I had caused. A face of loss, like faces of denizens after a town had been burned to the ground or swallowed up in a tidal wave. Catastrophes carrying away all, even the ash and smoke of memories. Loss, tremendous loss, desperately clutched at in the biting cold. I saw in her face whatever crude, despairing, mortal pain preceded grief. And oh, words may contain little, for in their utter failure at the task, their practice and art proven a tremendous lacking, their work is not even enough to betray a semblance of what I saw. Her face, pale and flushed, was a beautiful but morose medley, an ode about an ocean with its bottom carved out by a dull rusted blade. Her eyes were downcast, tethered by the immense, implicable weight of sorrow. Woman, oh woman.
So that's the excerpt from Twilight in York?
Yeah.
Okay, man. That was pretty touching, man. Pretty deep. I'm going to go ahead and grab me a couple. So speaking of that, where can we find your book at, man? What can we find at Amazon, and what other book companies can we purchase your book at?
Yeah, the easiest way is Amazon. Also, I have Facebook, which is just my name, Ryan Gray. And I have a website, twilightinyork.com.
Okay. So yeah, man. So I'll be following you later on today on your social media sites and everything. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners before we leave?
No, just reach out. There's organizations out there that can help you if you are struggling with addiction or mental health. One of them is called SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that has a national helpline for people who are looking for treatment.
Hey. So Ryan, man, as we wrap up, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man, and sharing your experiences and the things that you've been through, man, that you endured. And so For my money waiting listeners, my man Ryan say that if he can go through it, you can go through it too. You got the courage and you got the confidence to do it too. Pick up the book, Twilight in York Time. For my man Ryan Gray, you have been listening to the Moneyway Show. This your boy CJ Moneyway. We out of here. Peace.
See, I could go casual chic or dress for success.
With so many looks, picking out what to wear can be difficult. But with Walmart, picking out a fresh pair of glasses is easy.
Maybe it's an athleisure day.
That's because Walmart has top brands and styles for you to choose from. So it's easy to find the right frames for whatever you're feeling.
Here's my outfit of the day and the perfect pair of cat-eye frames to match.
New glasses to make your styles pop. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Whether you're making the same breakfast that you have every day or baking a cake for an extra special day, eggs are a staple in our diets. Eggland's best eggs are nutritionally superior to ordinary eggs, containing more vitamins and 25% less saturated fat. Not only are they better for you, but Eggland's best eggs taste better too. There's a reason that they're America's #1 eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com for additional information and delicious recipes.
Imagine earning a degree that prepares you with real skills for the real world. Capella University's programs teach skills relevant to your career so you can apply what you learn right away. Learn how Capella can make a difference in your life at capella.edu.
High Five Casino lets you play your favorite slot and live table games like blackjack with the chance to redeem for real cash prizes. High Five Casino has a giant selection of over 1,200 games, including hundreds of exclusive games only found on High Five Casino. It's always free to play, and free coins are given out every 4 hours. Ready to have your own high five moment? Visit highfivecasino.com. That's high, the number 5, casino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.